All right, so welcome back, guys. This is the 30,
Fourth, I
30
think. I think 34th.
I don't even know. So this is like 30 something episode. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about the cancel culture and the Me Too movement, which, we find pretty interesting. Especially like all the new allegations going on currently and stuff. It's pretty enlightening. And definitely, I definitely do. I'm definitely on the side of the the accusers that are like accusing all these dudes of like inappropriate misconduct and stuff. Uh, yeah, I mean, just it's yeah. What are your thoughts?
So I think it's really funny, because we were talking earlier, and I had a conversation with somebody last night about like this kind of stuff, and people tend to, I don't even know if they just like misunderstand and if it's like willing or not. But it's so funny because like the whole Me Too movement is just interesting. Because I think almost everybody agrees on like 99% of all of this stuff. If you're raped or something, the person should 100% be held accountable. It's just uh, you get these people who feel like you have to believe me, and the reality is like you can't just believe everyone no matter how sad your story is. I can't just necessarily, I can have empathy for you, but to actually, put someone else in jail or hold someone else accountable, there are way too many examples of people who didn't do anything and then had serious legal
Yeah.
ramifications that really changed their lives. And it's like, that's not fair to them. If there's no proof of whatever we're talking about, then I don't think that you should be able to, put somebody in jail for this, or any kind of something like that. And so it's funny because I think people totally misunderstand that, and they're like, oh, if you're against the Me Too movement, you are you're immediately somehow somebody who just like supports the rapist and stuff or whatever. And it's
No,
like,
it's
no,
not
I
that. It's
just,
not that. It's
yeah,
just we're
exactly,
like very critical. We're not believing
exactly.
every single
Well, you
fucking
want
accusation that
evidence.
comes out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and
Because like you know I definitely agree. A lot of these accusations are probably true, but a lot of these, like, especially the ones that come after the initial ones,
yeah,
some probably are false, right? People are just jumping on the bandwagon to get attention or something. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, like,
and so
just
it's
we're not. It's just
yeah.
like we don't believe every accusation, but we definitely do agree with some of them. So
Yeah, and it's like, if you tell me, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, what's your evidence? But if you're trying to actually put legal ramifications on the other person, that's when there need to be extra questions that are asked. And, I had somebody who was, again, like I was talking to yesterday, and she was like, oh, well, if you, don't believe me, isn't that kind of like denying what I've been through? And it's like, no, it's just that if you want to have this, if you want to affect somebody else's life with this, we need to know this actually happened, because there are a lot of times, if you look at this whole NASCAR thing that happened recently, where the dude thought he found a noose in his garage, and he was so set on that being the whole story behind it, and then they found out that, hey, that's been like that for years, and he was so really trying to push the narrative of it being a hate crime, but there was just no evidence for that, and so it's like, I think you need to have evidence for things, and after that,
it's
you
hard to
should.
have evidence for stuff like this, right? Like
Yeah,
when
but
you
I mean, I
say like you
think.
raped me, like
Yeah, well,
there's
like
no
I
evidence.
think, yeah, and the reality is like, you can't just lock somebody up because of an allegation. And people are like, you have all these people who do bad things who are, not in jail and who didn't have anything bad happen to them, whatever. And you see this with like cops nowadays and stuff. And it's like, well, that's because we're lacking context. And if there's no proof that this actually happened, then locking this person up to achieve justice when you have no idea if this thing actually happened, that's not justice. And so I think you've got to be fair to everyone. And I saw somebody saying this a few days ago where they were like, all lives matter except like rapists and all these people. And I'm just like, I think no matter how bad of a person you are, your life matters too. And it doesn't matter what kinds of things you've done, because you always have the opportunity to change and to improve. There are way too many people who, were terrible people when they were younger. And then as they grew older, they're like, wow, I need to fix myself. And they turned into amazing people. And so it's like, I think, we have to give them their rights too, because there are
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
totally agree with
people who
that.
will
I
change.
think chances are, most of these dudes that are doing this shit, like they're not like psychopaths. Like they're pretty normal people.
Hmm.
Like you can't even tell. Like, I swear to God, like some of these people that came out accusations, like pretty huge people, they're like celebrities, and like
Hmm.
you look at them and what they do daily, and you never think that they are capable of shit like this,
Well,
but they are.
that's the really interesting thing also is like it's way more sketchy if you're a celebrity because like I'm way more critical of that because then you could have somebody who maybe nothing happened or maybe you did like sleep with them or whatever and then they're like I can make a money grab for this and so I'm going to sue you for something even if you never actually did it and because you want to avoid all the press you're just going to give me money. And it's like as terrible as it sounds there are a lot of times
It's
where that
true.
happens. And so it's like, I don't think that we can just listen to all of these because there are unfortunately a lot of people who lie about these things. There was a dude who I saw on the news a while ago who he was accused of like raping some girl. And he lost his football scholarship and stuff. And he was like one of those kids who might have gone pro. He lost all of that. And it was eventually proved. I think she even admitted it later on that she was like, "Yeah, I lied about all of it." And so it's like that is so messed up because you're ruining that dude's life too. And I don't think you should have that kind of power without some kind of proof, no matter how terrible of an act that you're talking about.
Let's
You know,
talk about
it's,
let's move on to like dudes that actually do commit it. Like, what are your thoughts on people who actually do this stuff?
I
Like
mean,
people who are actually doing like sexual harassment. Like, because I think what happens is you have a lot of these dudes that like I don't think they're intending to rape. I think they just don't know how to go about asking for sex or something.
well, I think there's a big difference between like actually raping and just like a lack of communication. Like I think if the person says no, then like it's no. That's your answer right there. And going anywhere beyond that is obviously rape. But it's like I think we've watered down the definition of like sexual harassment to a point where like me looking at you the wrong way is considered that, and like that's just screwed up.
But I'm not
And
talking about.
it's
I'm talking about like legit
yeah,
sexual harassment. I mean,
yeah,
I'm saying that like, there's like a lot of guys that don't know how to go about this, and like they keep pushing boundaries. Like they don't know like when to stop, right? Like,
yeah.
I think like if a girl says no once, like I think you shouldn't like keep pushing, but like you can wait a while and then try again, or like if you like go for a kiss and they say no, like just back off, and then
Yeah.
like maybe after a few like minutes try again. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like you want to keep testing the boundary, but don't like push her to a point where like she's like forced to say yes, like to an uncomfortable state. So
Yeah, well, I think it's like you've got to have the conversation, especially like if you're in a relationship or like I think something that happens is
I
like
wouldn't say
people.
relationship. I think most of this is these are all like one night stands. These are
Yeah,
all
I
like
agree.
just like single occurrences.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just like, but I do think like it does happen in relationships sometimes, and it's just like I think you always need to communicate and have the conversation of like, when is this happening, and like, just be on the same page. And like for the one night stand stuff, it's like like you've got to have those conversations too. I think like if you're at a bar and you meet somebody or something, like talk to them, and honestly I think you also have to be smart about the positions you're putting yourself in. Like if you're going to go to somebody's house that you've never met and like expect nothing to happen, that is a little bit naive. You're just putting yourself in a really bad
Exactly.
position.
That's I'm like saying like some of these girls are actually like baiting the fuck out of these guys. Like they're like they literally invite them to their house. And like how do you not expect for something to
Yeah,
happen? Like
yeah.
it's such a like you are literally like fucking with the dude's mind. Like you have to
Hmm.
like be aware of some of this shit. Like
Yeah, and it's like I think no matter what, obviously the guy's still in the wrong if he pushes anything. But it's like at the same time, it's like people get so up in arms about like, oh, teach guys to be better, and it's like yeah, I think we should do both. We should teach
both
women
sides
and males.
need responsibility,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, because like if you have like girls walking around naked everywhere, you're going to cause problems. Like I'm sorry, you're going to cause problems. And it's like as much as you want to get want to teach males to be a certain way, there are going to be ones who are still ridiculous. And so I think there's a balance there of like a fix both genders. And I really do think so. Somebody said like the devaluing of marriage is what a lot of this comes from, he thinks, because people are no longer of the mindset of like find one person, settle down. It's now like oh, just go out and bang everybody I can talk to. And so then you cause a lot of these issues because people don't have as many values.
Yeah, I think especially for dudes, it's like the body count thing, right? Like people are like, I'm gonna fuck her today. Body count, body count, body count. Like it's all about this like bragging sort of thing,
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah, and I'll just never understand that. I think I don't know. My opinion, it's a little bit of an insecurity of people, but yeah, it's just like I think people need to have the conversation before, and it's so this is I don't really necessarily recommend this, but there's a guy I know, and he was like, to protect myself, I always get like a videotape of them consenting before anything happens, just so I have proof in case they want to do anything, and so it's just like, I mean, that is, I guess, an option, but
That's
I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, but this is yeah,
See,
but
I feel like the solution to all this is just to be upfront, right? Like
I
it's
think
not hard.
communication
Like a
is
lot of
like
these dudes, they just push boundaries, and they fucking end up like getting these accusations. But like it's so easy. Like it's not hard. Like you literally just have to ask the girl.
yeah,
And
and I think
you have to tell them. Like a lot of these dudes, they don't even tell the girl they like them. Like they're throwing all these shady signals around. They're making all these moves, and like especially if you are like a close friend, um, like like because like so there's like fundamentally two different relationships you can have with the girl. There's a friend zone, and there's like like someone she wants to fuck, right? And so like especially with the friend zone, right? Like a lot of the dudes, they go into the friend zone, but then like they don't know how to get out of it. And like when they start making these moves onto the girl, like she just sees this as like, oh, hey, he's like my really close friend, and like she doesn't like think like anything sexual about it. But like when the dude does come off as sexual, and she's like, shit, dude, he's in the friend zone. Like he's like my best friend. So
yeah,
like there's like this miscommunication. So it's like I think the solution is to be upfront and tell her like, hey, I like you. Do you want to grab like dinner with me sometime or something? Or like if you want to fuck, like I mean like I'm not upfront about this, but like if you want to be like you can just be like, hey, want to fuck? Like
yeah.
be upfront
I
about
and
it.
I do think I do think communication is just such a big thing, and I do think that girls need to stop. We've gotten into such a mindset of like we see one thing and we immediately are like, oh, this is this, and it's like some. I swear I've seen so many things where like a guy might literally just ask, not even do anything, be like, hey, I'm just gonna ask. If you don't want to, then perfect, it's fine. And like girls would take that as like sexual harassment. And it's like I think
That's
if yeah, and it's like
I
if
have not met a
you
single girl like that in my life.
yeah, I've seen so many things like that, and it's just like I think if the person asks and then you say no, then that's fine. Conversation's over.
It's fine.
But like if they push it, then that's when it's like that's when it gets into dangerous territory. But it's like
I
I,
think
I
the reason why guys don't ask is because they're afraid of the outcome. They're afraid of the rejection. Because they
yeah,
want it, they want to fuck her so bad that they can't take that no, right? But I think the
yeah,
beauty about being upfront is, like you can know a girl for like a week or a month, and you can just tell her like, hey, I like you, and depending on what she says, like if she's interested or not. If she's not interested, back the fuck off, find someone else. Like it's that
yeah.
simple. Like you literally stop wasting all this time because a lot of these dudes they get in the friend zone for like a year or 2 years. They spend so much time, for this like relationship, and like they just get disappointed in the end. Like you just have to be upfront about it initially.
It's actually really interesting because maybe it's like Jordan Peterson who was talking about this. He's like, so many people, like so many guys will do it super wrong because girls, obviously this might be a little bit of stereotyping, but like according to like psychology and what he says, are like they want somebody who is like protective, like who's strong and who can like protect the family or whatever. Or at least like these are biological things. And it's funny because he's like, so many guys do it wrong because they make themselves out to be a super weak ultra nice person. And he's like, nice guys finish last. Like, you friend zone yourself by doing that because then she's like, oh, this person's really nice.
Well,
And I can,
do you ever wonder why guys act super nice, right? Because when you act super nice, like you don't do anything that causes the girl to hate you, right?
Mhm.
Like you appear like, I feel like a lot of this. Yeah, so that's a friend zone strategy. Like you play super nice and
Exactly.
you get closer and closer to the girl. Like she sees you more as a friend. And then once you do get close enough, then you like open up, and like
Yeah.
that's where the shit goes so wrong.
Yeah. Honestly, like from what I've seen, it has been, we talked about this before. It's like been the most, like I've had the most success with like any kind of I don't know, girls. And not that I pursued anyone, but like I've had the most girls develop crushes or whatever from like being ultra confident and acting like I'm gonna do me and I really don't give a fuck what you want to say or think. And like I think because I think girls are attracted to you being strong, and so it's like like and I think the same is kind of like true for girls or for guys to girls, or at least for me as an individual. Like if you see a girl who's like super strong, strong-willed, strong-minded, and is like not afraid to stand up for things, like you're like, holy shit, that's attractive. And so I think like if you're able to stand up and defend yourself and like, it's like he says, like there's no virtue in being harmless. So if you're like a dangerous person mentally and like potentially physically, but it's like, if you're dangerous but you're civilized, that is the most attractive thing that you can be.
Hmm. Definitely, yeah. Um, yeah, we gotta wrap this up soon. I guess just some closing thoughts, right? Like, I guess my take on this whole thing is like, I think guys just need to be more self-aware on like they need to learn actually how to approach girls. Like, I think most
Yeah.
guys just do not know how to do this shit. Because like it's actually like pretty simple. So like if you do want to like like bang her, right, like it's not hard, right, like you just have to be in the right mode of thinking. And I think the right mode of thinking is like so there's like two different ways in which you can do this, right, like the psychopath, not the psychopathic way, but like the way that most of these Me Too allegations are coming out about, like most guys are just doing it like they're figuring out ways to do it in like very shady manners. And like they're pretty much like manipulating the scenario in order
Yeah.
for it to happen. Like you shouldn't do that. Like that's pretty much a win for yourself, but a loss for the girl. Like you want it to be a win-win scenario, and so you want to like insinuate or like subtly move towards it in an area like where she can't really say no. And so it's all about escalating interactions. So
Mhm.
like you want to keep escalating and shit. Yeah, actually I won't say more about this. You guys can like learn about it in your own time. It's not the focus of this podcast, unfortunately. I don't want my parents to see this shit either. So, yeah. So, yeah, I gotta go soon. So, like, we're gonna wrap up the episode. Make sure to give us a review if you liked it, a sub if you loved it, and check us out on YouTube. You can see this right live with our faces. Me and my fucking wow. It's actually really sunny today. It's really
What?
sunny. Wow, it's insane. Um,
It's
and
not
so
super sunny here, but
yeah, because your curtains are always off. Okay, so
yeah. Well, yeah.
yeah, so just make sure to check us on YouTube, and check us out on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple iTunes. Why did I say Apple iTunes? It's just iTunes. God damn it. Tim Jobs. Oh my God. Tim Jobs. Okay, yeah. So see you guys next time. Peace.
Yeah.